Hey, what's up? This is Mike Sunday. Just wanted to make a quick video on some Japanese denim. I used to be a big denim head back in the day. I think probably around 2008, 2009, I want to say I started to get into it. My first pairs were APC, New Standards, and Petite Standards, if you know about that. But I was kind of fanatical about it in the way where a lot of people advise you not to wash them because they kind of screw up your fade. So I never washed them. They always ripped. I found out later, and it's really gross, it's because the bacteria, when you don't wash them, actually eats away and erodes the material. So I wouldn't recommend that anymore. Anyway, I was out of denim for a bit, and I think denim as a whole kind of faded from being in vogue. But last year, on my trip to Japan, I got a brand new pair. And the state of denim in Japan, it's you know, everyone knows Japan for being known for its selvage denim, and it's really popular. So it's quite hard to find sizes. I went to a place in Ueno called Hinoya. They carry quite a few brands, and you know, among those brands are like Samurai, Sugarcane, Momotaro. I think they carry all those. They didn't have too many sizes, but what I did do was pick up their in-house brand called Burgess. And that was, for me, a really great introduction back into the game of Japanese denim. I ended up wearing them for about 100 days before I actually washed them. And so here they are now. In my opinion, they look great. I'm going to include some of the washing footage and more detailed footage about how they faded, but really pleased with them, to be honest. And it's been a great experience. I think now that I've done this once, you know, as a way to get back into it, there's some things that I would have changed, but namely that's with my current washing machine is still a top loader. So there's quite a bit of agitation, and especially earlier on in your jeans life cycle, you don't really want to use that as much. My first wash, I did end up using the bathtub method, which, if you're familiar with Japanese denim, obviously that's being very careful and hand washing them in the tub. It's quite exhausting, so you don't want to do that too often. But as a first wash, I would definitely recommend that to minimize the amount of indigo loss. So these are progressing really nicely. I like how they look. They're a little bit baggy, but what's great about buying denim in Japan, especially from a more specialty shop, is they tend to actually do same-day alterations. Some people might say that you actually want to wear them first before you alter them, even give them a wash so they'll properly shrink. But I don't really care. I would rather have a professional do it without being charged extra, and they have the proper chain stitching to recreate the sort of factory look that you might get when it actually comes to wearing a piece of denim. So I've worn these for about a year, and I'm going to include some footage of how they look, the fades, and most importantly, the fit, which is great. These are a loose pair. I used to wear my jeans super, super tight, so that also didn't help with the longevity of the material and them ripping specifically in the crotch. I'm only starting to get like a small wear and tear bit here, but that is because I think just from normal usage and not because I haven't washed them or anything like that. Also, too, one thing interesting to note is the longer you delay your first wash, the higher the initial fades will be. But I think, like many denim heads, that high contrast fade was sort of the look back in the day. Now I'm more into just the general vintage vibe. So washing them earlier and more often sort of produces that type of look. So I just also, a year to the date, got back from Japan. And I've gotten 2 more pairs, so I'm really excited to sort of break these in. The first pair here is from a company called Momotaro, which, if you're familiar with Japanese denim, you've probably heard of. This is a sort of straight-legged pair, which I'm really excited about. They have been altered already. So these ones in particular have the 2 stripes on the back pocket. I'm actually not a big fan of this detail, but I saw a pair in the store. I actually got these from the Kyoto store, and they faded quite nicely. So these will eventually fade, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, the overall quality of this denim, I think, feels a little bit less slubby than the Hanoya pair that I just showed you. But of course, nice and dark. Really looking forward to rocking these, and I'll show you the fit of what these Momotaro jeans are. These are their classic straight leg. I think they have quite a few models that are a little bit more tapered. Wasn't really looking for that, so yeah, look forward to that. And then finally, I got another pair from another Japanese company, of course, called Studio d'Artisan. Both of these companies are quite renowned and quite famous in the Japanese denim sphere, I would say. Some other ones that come to mind are, like I said before, Sugarcane, Samurai. There's just a million brands. They have more of like a stitch detail, almost like a nudie or like a Levi's might have. These ones are skinnier and I would say slightly darker than the Momotaro pair, but also really looking forward to this as well. I got these really tight. They are expected as any raw Japanese denim to stretch about an inch. So also looking forward to breaking these in. So yeah, join with me on this journey. I'll probably keep updating y'all maybe in a year about how these start to fade. They won't quite get the same amount of wear if I'm splitting my time between two different pairs that I did from my original pair that I got last year. But yeah, really curious to see how they turn out. I think either my weight has fluctuated a bit, or the ones I got last year just stretched out a little bit too much. I think they're a little bit too baggy for my liking now. So I'll post some before and after. But yeah, really excited to see how these Momotaro and these Studio d'Artisan progress. All right, so these are the pair, like I said, that I got a year ago, almost to the date, from Hanoya. They stretched out a bit, as most of you know. Japanese denim tends to stretch out about an inch in the waist. However, when I wash it, it kind of comes loose again, only for it to tighten up after a wash. They kind of sit a little bit below my hips, where I find it most comfortable. But as I found out in the years, wearing your jeans at your actual waist above the hips is much more flattering, I think. So here's what they look like when they're actually at sort of the proper height. You can see there's quite nice fading on the butt pockets and the whiskers in the front. I'm starting to become quite fond of, as well as the knees. I actually cut these to the length to be cuffed, so you can see that here. Wearing them with my new Guidi calf boots from Rolling Dub Trio, which is a Japanese brand. So very pleased with these. Like I said, I don't know if it was my weight that's fluctuated or they've stretched out quite a bit, but they are very relaxed. This next pair, and FYI, the Hanoyas kind of looked like this when I first started, but it had the back cinch. These are the Momotaros. The one thing I'm not like a crazy big fan of is the striped on the back right pocket, the two white stripes. Mind you, that is symbolic of some sort of craft designation in Japan, I believe. But these, I'd say, are straight through and through. There might have been a slight taper, but because I got them altered, the tapering is virtually all gone. So I'd say these are like a sort of a true straight. I actually didn't hem these, I didn't get them altered to be with a cuff, but I'm going to show you what it looks like with the cuff anyways. I think it's actually a little short when looking back, it probably looks a little bit awkward. I do really like how jeans fade when you don't have a cuff. I love how it sort of looks, especially if you get it properly done, using a chain stitch. You sort of get a really desirable fade on the bottom of your jeans, but you would get it regardless eventually, even if you did have it cuffed. So these are the Momotaros. Really liking these. I think I'm going to enjoy wearing them with sort of boots, and probably not sneakers, to be honest, on these ones. And then finally, these are the Studio d'Artisan ones. These are the tightest. I would say that, one thing I forgot to mention is the Momotaros. I'm about a 32, 33 true. I got a 31 in the Momotaros, and they're quite snug. I got a 33 in these Studio d'Artisans, and they're very snug. So you can see here, there's a high contrast stitching on the back. similar to what Levi's might look like with sort of the pattern there. And these are the slimmest, and they have sort of the highest rise. So I'm a big fan of these. These might have been closer to what how I would have worn my jeans before, but with no taper. I don't really like a taper too much these days. Maybe a very slight one that you can see here, but these are the tightest ones. I think they're the most uncomfortable, but I actually like how they look the most. And then finally showing you what they look like with a cuff. So these will be a monster with boots. Can't wait to rock these. It might be a little hot in the summer, but they'll get some great usage in the fall. Thanks for checking this video out. Be sure to like and subscribe.